Hey everyone, Rua here with something out of left field. Easter eggs are nothing new to gaming, but when the game is ongoing, like an MMO, developers might work in some very clever references to in-game pop culture and to media beyond. Final Fantasy XI is no different. I think that most long-lasting MMOs, like Warcraft or EverQuest, have videos listing off some of their more notable references, but this game has been lacking one for some time, so I figured I'd do it. These are ranked in no particular order, but I won't deny that I have my favourites among them. I'm not a walking encyclopedia either, so I probably have missed a few. If I have, then chime in below and I'll highlight them. Okay, here we go. Breaking the fourth wall. This one is low on the list because it's a small reference, but it still indicates when SE started appreciating in-game pop culture. Sometime towards the end of Artagan onward, SE started indulging in a bit of fourth wall breaking. For those of you who don't know what that is, breaking the fourth wall is a term used when characters in media address their audience directly. This is what King of Hearts ended up doing when he explained how he was going to blend into crowds by using mercenary terminology, which ended up being, "Need tank? Please send tell." He even turned to the screen after he said it. All that was missing was a sideways glance. It took players off guard when they saw an in-game character adopting their own lingo, but it was still welcome. You can see King of Hearts do it again whenever you call him as a trust NPC, only this time he'll say, "Need red mage, please send tell." You can't actually send him tells though, odd that. Job emotes. When the job emotes were added to the game, players noticed that some of them were actually Easter eggs in disguise. As far as I know, there are 3 of them which really stand out. The first one is Monk's. Monk's emote is an unmistakable reference to the anime series Dragon Ball, specifically to its main character Goku. Goku, a martial artist, powers up with a very similar aura to this one here accompanying the transformation. The second is Ninjas, and this is one a Linkshell friend pointed out, otherwise I would have completely missed it. This is another anime reference, this time to the Naruto series, to a character called Jiraiya. Jiraiya is also known as the Toad Sage. He can call toads into battle, sometimes even riding atop giant toads. From what I've told, this emote is a clear reference to that. The third one is Black Mages, and this is a reference to the Black Waltzes featured in the early chapters of Final Fantasy IX. The Black Waltzes were manufactured Black Mages given souls. They were extremely dangerous and proved to be very unstable once they sustained enough damage. The most iconic feature of the Black Waltzes though was their dark coloured wings which they could use to fly about and evade attacks. The Black Waltzes did not feature prominently in the story of Final Fantasy IX, but they certainly made an impression. Avesta. I've said multiple times throughout my videos that Red Mage is one of, if not the best job in the game for solo or low man play, but I'm nowhere near the first one to say that. Red Mage has held its status as a masterful solo job for years, but where did the adage originally come from? Meet Avesta, one of the most legendary players in the history of Final Fantasy XI. A Red Mage of such incredible skill that he was single-handedly defeating H&Ms which could easily flatten whole groups. What made this even more impressive was that Avesta was doing this back at level 75 cap, so he did not have the gear, spells, and abilities we all enjoy today. Avesta's reputation within in-game pop culture grew to such a degree that SE acknowledged his skill by literally naming a Red Mage-centric item after him when Dynamis got revamped. The Avesta bangles have other jobs on them, sure, but the stats they have on them just scream Red Mage. Avesta remains to this day the only player to have ever been immortalized like this, and it's a great gesture from SE in paying tribute to a popular player. Sci-fi references in Automaton names. Both these references can be found whenever you are on the Puppet Master job and are looking to rename your automaton. The first few pages of potential names have various meanings, but if you're like me and enjoy good sci-fi, then you would have stopped when you came across the name Bishop. This is not a reference to the chess piece of the same name, as no other chess-related names feature in the list. No, this is a reference to the character Bishop in the classic 1986 James Cameron movie Aliens. Bishop, like the Puppet Master's Automaton, is an android who can take a serious amount of damage before packing in. Potential spoiler there, but it's an old movie, so hey. Speaking of androids, below Bishop you'll find Data, and this is another unmissable reference if you're a sci-fi buff. Data is a reference to Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek, another android who yearns for true humanity. The question of whether an automaton has a soul or not is one of the themes of Puppet Master's lore, so this reference has a double meaning really.
Captain? You're on the Enterprise data. I seem to be missing several memory engrams. There they are.
Brave Hero Glenn. Speaking of names, here's a really neat Easter egg Beastmasters can stumble across. One of the jug pets that can be called by a Beastmaster is an inconspicuous frog called Brave Hero Glenn. At first it doesn't seem like much, but it's actually a very clever reference to the character Frog, featured in Square's 1995 game Chrono Trigger for the SNES. If you're keeping score, Square or Squaresoft was the company name of Square Enix before they merged with Enix. Frog was a knight called Glenn who was cursed by a dark wizard and turned into an anthropomorphic frog. It was down to the player's choice whether to turn Frog back into Glenn, but regardless, he was a valuable addition to the team. Ulhuadshi. It seems that Square Enix really has a thing for Western sci-fi. This one is a bit obscure to all but the most ardent sci-fi fans, but that doesn't stop it from being a good one though. Ulhuadshi is a giant sandworm found in Abyssia, Ottawa, but its name cleverly hides a reference. Ulhuadshi is an anagram of Shai-Hulud, a likewise colossal sandworm featured in the 1984 movie Dune. Shai-Hulud is the largest of the many sandworms beneath the desert planet Arrakis' sandy sea. It's a legendary being akin to a god among the people of Arrakis, and its taming by the hero is the turning point in his rebellion struggle. I'm actually really impressed someone on the Square Enix development team came up with this one. Incidentally, how awesome would it be if Square Enix actually released a sandworm mount? We could recreate this scene then. Rongelouts. Do you remember going through the Artagan promotion quests for the mercenary ranks and eventually being sent off to an officer training academy? Did the quests there feel a bit familiar, like you'd seen something like them before in a movie? Well, if you did, you weren't wrong. The drill instructor of the camp is Rongelouts, and he's certainly got an intimidating presence as well as a way with words. His character is a brilliant tribute to Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in the 1987 movie Full Metal Jacket, where he was played by the great R. Lee Hermey. Everything from his dialogue being very similar to Hartman's, albeit with a copious profanity removed, to his terrorizing of a certain recruit is straight from the plot of the movie. Not sold on the reference? Okay, here's what cements it. Wings of the Goddess followed the Artagan expansion Rongelouts first appeared in, and if you go back to Sandoria during the Crystal War, you'll find him leading the Iron Rams, the very regiment you join if you side with Sandoria. Through the Nation quests, you cross paths with him again, and he gives you a small token of his appreciation for your efforts. What does he give you? The full metal bullet. They could not make that any more apparent if they tried. Highlander Lizard. This is my personal favourite for a film reference. It's a seriously clever one, and it takes a real film buff to spot it. The Highlander Lizard is a reference to the 1986 movie Highlander. The Highlander Lizard is found, of course, in the Kronstadt Highlands and drops the immortal malt. If you thought the item description of the immortal malt was odd, then that's because it depicts the central premise of the movie, where immortal warriors battle each other across history to obtain the prize, or the collective power of all the immortals who have lived. The item even bears the famous catchphrase from the movie, "There can be only one." This goes beyond a mere name and an item though. This reference goes further when you stop for a moment and look around. The Highlander Lizard is found very close to the place where the samurai job quest to forge their first great katana takes place. If you know the film Highlander and the backstory behind Connor McLeod's mentor, Juan Ramirez, then you know why this is so clever. If you don't, let this clip explain it.
I was born 2,437 years ago. In that time, I've had 3 wives. The last was Shikiko, a Japanese princess. Her father, Masamune, a genius, made this for me in 593 BC. It is the only one of its kind.
Well played, Square Enix. Very well played. This is some serious attention to detail, and if you ask me, it's the #1 movie reference in Final Fantasy XI. A reboot of the Highlander story is in the works, and it's got me interested since the director is none other than Chad Stahelski, the director of the John Wick movies. Dances with Luopans. Simultaneously, the best instance of Square Enix taking note of player pop culture, using said culture to troll their players while also breaking the fourth wall at the same time. This one's a cracker. The release of the Seekers of Adeline expansion brought with it the Geomancer job, which players could begin the quest to unlock as soon as they reach the titular city. This quest required players to go back to the Middlelands and get some homeland soil as well as a petrified log. Why was this such a big deal, you ask? Well, the major content before Adeline was Voidwatch, which became a meme when players started calling it Logwatch on account of petrified logs being the most common trash loot from the battles. So common were they that the auction house sale plummeted to the extent that they were not worth putting up for sale, so they either got thrown away or just sold to NPCs. Now, picture the day of the expansion release with waves of players coming to undertake the Geomancer quest, only to find there's no petrified logs to be found, except the few in the bazaars of those players who got there first and started selling the logs for millions of gil each. As if adding insult to injury to the players who incessantly complained about Logwatch, the quest log states, to make one, a Luopan, you need 1 petrified log and a fistful of homeland soil. Now, where could you find them? Oh, come on, guys. Taisaijin. As far as Square Enix goes in recognizing culture their players create, this one really takes the biscuit. This is an obscure one, but it has a great story behind it. Back in 2003 when Final Fantasy XI was young, the refresh spell was added to the game, but nobody knew where to get it, apart from one intrepid red mage. This red mage had found out where to get the scroll, but rather than be a community player, he told everyone who asked him where he got it that he, quote, found it on a Taisai. What followed was a culling of Taisais of epic proportions, when hundreds of players packed out the Rongelouts pass trying in vain to get one to drop. All the while, the red mage farmed the scroll in peace with absolutely no competition, selling it on mule characters for extortionate amounts of gil. Eventually, people cottoned on to what was happening, and the red mage's hustle was rumbled. This legendary con became a meme in of itself among the Japanese community, where whenever a new, rare, and desired item was added after an update, anyone who asked at large where to find said item could be met with the reply, I found it on a Taisai. Fast forward a little bit, and Square Enix added this time-spawned NM, which only appears if Taisais are left alone for days on end. When you think about it, Taisaijin being double the level of the Taisais it spawns from makes it seem like a spirit of vengeance. It also drops the refresh scroll and the cheeky title of Bye Bye Taisai. Who said Square Enix doesn't have a sense of humour? Okay, that wraps my list up. Did I miss any you'd like to share with everyone? If I did, post it in the comments section below and I'll be sure to highlight it. I'm already working on my next video, a job guide, and I'll let you know when it's due out. I'll see you then.